right, boys and girls, school's back in session. Have my cup of coffee here. Yes, it's 5 o'clock p.m. and I am drinking another cup of coffee. We listen and we don't judge. Most of the time. The reason why we are gathered here today is because I wanted to talk about something in particular. It's about getting older, and I wanted to talk about kind of a few different things, and it's been a subject that has been surfacing in my mind since turning like 30, but especially in the last few months. And then I was, you know, like when you have something on your heart, or there's something that you want to do and your intuition's guiding you, and then God, universe, whatever you believe in, will send people into your path that kind of affirm that that's what you should be talking about. Well, lo and behold, me and my friend Bethany were talking about like aging today, and so this is why it like kind of pushed me to really create this video. I planned on making it today, but it's kind of been one of them sit down videos that I've been postponing, and I would have you set up over here, but like I feel like when I set up my tripod over there, I feel like I'm too far away from you guys. And so the reason I like having these sit down conversations, because I want it to feel like you're sitting across from me, is in my friendships and the relationships I've had in my life, whether they're past, present, whatever. I am like the go-to friend about talking to things because people can basically talk to me about anything. I'm just an open book. My toleration of bullshit though, however, has lessened a lot. Oh, my battery's dying. Of course it is. Hang on. Right, we're just gonna set you up there. See, it's kind of weird because I'm tall and the lighting would look good like that, but I'm not that short. Cupboard's cut off, so you're just gonna see a shadow on my forehead, so just get used to it. It is what it is. We're working with what we got. I don't have my ring light on because I already have a headache. Don't need to deal with anything else. Anyway, today's subject, we're gonna talk about getting older. That's what's on the agenda today. Getting older is fucking weird. It is so weird. And I feel like nobody ever talks about this, and there's like all of these things that I think about in my head, and I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Why don't I ever hear people talk about aging? Like, rarely ever hear about anyone talking about aging, the changes that your body goes through. You know, heck, we're not even prepared enough for puberty. Like, when that hits, we're like, what is going on with my body? Like, we at least get kind of some sort of an awakening, like, hey, this is what's to come. Here's a little taste. Kind of like pregnancy. People don't talk about that either. Like, I used to think from watching the movies, and you can laugh at me if you want, it took me until about 25, 26 years old, maybe I was older than that. I thought that pregnancy was like in the movies. You had, you know, you did the thing, you kissed, you did the thing, and then the next day you woke up and you were pregnant. You threw up, you got morning sickness. Well, then I learned, like, going through endometriosis, I learned about, like, your cycle and ovulating and, like, all of this stuff that I had no idea about because nobody educated me on this stuff, not even the doctor. And it's not their responsibility, but I had to research all of this crap by myself. And that's not today's subject. Today is about getting older, and one of the things that I was thinking about, I was scrolling through social media today, and I was like, people you may know or whatever, and I'm scrolling through this list of pages, and I'm like, oh my god, like their profile picture is a bunch of little kids. The fuck? How old am I? Like, I still, this is exactly what I'm getting to. I still feel 18 to 20 years old, but I'm 31. I don't know if it's because I lost my mom when I was 18, and they say like, you say like an addict, when they start doing drugs and until like they're done doing the drugs, like that gap there, the time being when they did said substance, their brain stops developing essentially, and like their emotional maturity is like behind, and so when people get clean and sober, they're starting to catch up from the age when they started doing the drugs or whatever. And I wonder if that kind of goes hand in hand with trauma too. I've never heard anybody really talk about that, but I'm like, do I feel 18, 20 because like I had trauma happen and I'm like healing? Because before it was 18, now I feel 20. I've grown immensely, especially like I want to say after the last relationship that I got out of, the last romantic relationship. I was head over heels for this guy, loved him to pieces, and it just didn't work out. And there was a disconnect in emotional maturity. Like, there were ways where I was emotionally immature, but there were ways where he was emotionally immature. And I think at the end of the day, he wasn't able to give me what I needed in that moment. And it wasn't like I needed him to fix my problems or whatever, but he couldn't handle me. He even told me word for word, I can't handle you. And that was hard for me. And it's just like, you're getting older, you're watching everybody around you get older, and like, you know, time's limited. So basically what's gonna happen is you're gonna sit there and watch everybody around you die. You make it to 80, 90 years old, like I've heard a lot of older people, but like much older people, it's people who are more towards the end of life, and I don't know if this is why I'm thinking about it more so as well, because I was 18 when I lost my mom, and so I know how relatively fragile and short life is, and so that's a big reason why I take a lot of risks in life. That's a big reason why I'm not afraid to put myself out there. That's a big reason why I go on solo trips, and I know that money's gonna come afterwards. Like, if I sat around and waited to do all these things, time would just tick away and I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't have taken chances, and I get a lot of shit for it. But on the flip side of all of that is like, you watch all of your friends and your family, like everybody's got kids. Like, by the time I decide to have a family, everybody's kids are gonna be adults, which is fine. I don't really have a problem with that, but like if I end up having children one day, my kids aren't going to be able to grow up with their cousins because their cousins are going to be off in college, and they're probably going to be starting their own families. So that's kind of like where, you know, this is, you know, just my 2 cents, but I'm like on the fence of having kids because I feel like the clock is ticking because I have endometriosis and PCOS. I'm just being raw, real and honest here. And I'm kind of fearful that my endometriosis came back because this year has been extremely painful with my menstrual cycle. I know that that's probably TMI, but it's one of the diseases that I have, and it's one of the things that I really struggle with. And I'm like, you know, I'm getting to the age where it's like, okay, well, do I go freeze my eggs? Because in the next 5 years, I'm really gonna have to consider it because 40 is 9 years away, and like, I shouldn't be thinking out to the future like that, but like, you know, it would suck to meet the right person then not have my eggs froze if I needed it. Like, I always like to have some sort of backup in areas of my life, and I think that that's not a bad quality to have. Constantly preparing yourself for the worst is a coping mechanism that can be extremely toxic and unhealthy. I know because I've been there before, but getting older is weird. You watch your body change, your elasticity in your face. Like, I still look young, and for some reason this camera puts some sort of filter on my face. I think I can take it off, but I really don't mind it. But like, you know, and that's not bad, but like, my skin never used to move that much. Like, I remember when I used to do this and there weren't those there. And I'm not saying this to make people feel insecure, like, make aging to be out to like a bad thing, but like, getting older is weird because your body changes. You're still you, and there's a certain way that you perceive or see yourself, and it starts to change. Like, I found my first gray hair was my eyebrow hair. My hair from my conditions is like thinning here, and obviously it's because I have PCOS and endometriosis, and so that's like one of the main things is like, nobody can really notice because I have relatively thick hair. My hair used to be 2 times as thick as this. It's definitely thinned out through the years. I'm getting lines in my nails, and again, I'm not saying this to like make anybody feel bad about the way that their body is, because I feel like everybody is beautiful in their own way, and I think that there's a beauty to aging, but especially in America, I can only speak for the United States. But there's all of these beauty standards, and there's all of these beauty commercials, and there's always trends that go around, which, you know, it's cool to see, like clothing and stuff. I enjoy clothing and fit checks, and like, I kind of get into that stuff. I'm not super materialistic, but everybody is so scared of getting older, and nobody fucking talks about this stuff. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Why is no one talking about this? My face has changed. I used to have like really, not chubby cheeks, but like my face was more filled out in my 20s. And I am getting more slender, like I'm growing up. Like my cheeks are hollow, and I've always had high cheekbones, but like my cheeks are skinnier. And the way that I see myself, like honestly, I think from like 20 to 30, I've definitely had a glow up. I think I'm prettier than I was at 20, but that's to each their own. Everybody's got their own opinion about themselves. But and this isn't about looks, but like, getting older is strange in so many different different ways, because like your body's changing, the family dynamics around you are changing, everybody's got babies, people are getting married. So like one of the things that I've talked about before, I think on my channel I mentioned it, but like I got so much shit in my 20s for not being married or like finding my person. And it's funny because the same people that judge me aren't happily married. The same people that judge me are getting divorced. The same people that judge me, their daughter, son, or whatever is getting divorced and their marriage isn't working out. And I'm actually really grateful that I didn't get married in my 20s, because it saved me more heartache than I already put myself through. And I say that because I made bad choices in dating people, which is why I took a big break from dating. I dated the same kind of guy over and over, and I noticed a trend. I'm like, Tyler, it's enough of this. And I think that that's part of my frontal lobe developing at 25, is like, there's a massive shift in my healing journey and who I am as a person from like 25 to 30 or whatever age I am now, 31. It's not a bad thing getting older. It's a blessing because we're here another day, and time is limited and time doesn't wait. But like I said, you watch your family members get older. I'm watching my dad grow older, my grandparents, there's gonna come a day when they're no longer here. My aunts and uncles are getting older. My grandparents' siblings are passing away. Like, it's weird. And so it's this fine line between focusing on your purpose and making time for the people in your life. And that's something that I've always struggled with, and I really try my best. And it's hard because it's like this seesaw of those two things, and then also the people pleaser in me is dying, so I'm not constantly jumping at people's beck and call. Like, I'm setting boundaries, and like the part where I get effed up or I get really hung up is like, okay, well, what does that mean? You know, setting a boundary or standing up for myself, because sometimes I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I set a boundary and I feel really shitty about it, and I do it because it's, you know, I'm essentially letting people wipe their feet on me like I'm a doormat, or they, you know, friends call me when it's convenient for them, or they message me when they want to hang out, and then I message them back, and I'm sitting there waiting for days for a response. And it's like, I think by the time you reach 30, you're kind of over it. That's kind of when you start giving a shit. And that's when you essentially stop caring about what people think of you. And it's kind of slowly fading and falling to the wayside. I'd be lying if I said I 100% didn't care what people thought. But I know that 10 years ago, at 20 years old, I would have been like, well, you know, so-and-so, I can't do this. I don't want to make them mad. They might perceive me a certain way. 95% of those people aren't my life anymore anyway. So it's like, do you people please the shit out of people to try and keep surface level people around that are gonna leave anyway? Or do you just be yourself and embrace it? You know, I am a cute and cuddly and coddly person. Like, I am very kind-hearted, I'm very empathetic, I'm very sensitive. But there's kind of an abrasive side to me where I'm extremely direct, and I'll tell people exactly where I stand. And there's a lot of times where they get upset with me about it because I speak the truth. And I'm not gonna sit there and lie to somebody's face when I'm like seeing something for what it is. Like, sometimes I feel bad and I'm like, well, you know, and I do end up telling them like what I really do think. But getting older is weird, aging is weird, and I wish that more people talked about this. So that's why I'm on my YouTube channel talking about it, because there's just a lot of different things that I'm thinking about. You know, it kind of goes hand in hand with like doing what's best for you. I felt called out of Minnesota for a very long time. I still don't know where I want to live to this day. But I'm in a weird spot where I don't owe a lot on my house. Like, I don't. People are like, oh my god, you're so lucky, you bought your own house. Like, you must be really rich. No, bitch. I worked hard for it. I saved enough money on my down payment. It took me a year and a half. I lived with my dad when I moved back from Jersey after pursuing my dreams of being a high fashion model fell through the cracks, and I got so sick of living in the shadows of what agents wanted me to do. And I had one tattoo at the time, this one, and they wanted me to laser the only tattoo that I had off. And there were some times where they'd cover my beauty mark up in shots and stuff like that. And I get that they want things to be a certain way, but like, I was sick of the beauty standard and people telling me I had to be, you know, my waist had to be 24 inches and my hips had to be 34, and I was working my ass off, working out, eating super healthy, creating unhealthy patterns in my brain around food, and it kind of messed me up for a while. But my hips and my waist were an inch off and I was working my ass off, and I still couldn't get that skinny because that's not how my body's built. I don't have curves, but like I have a butt. I've always had a butt, a juicy butt. I've never had a chest. Got an ant farm here, but I've always had a butt, and I'm blessed. I'm happy for it. I'm extremely blessed. Definitely not complaining. I'm not complaining whatsoever. When I moved back from Jersey, because I couldn't live in New York, I couldn't afford it, I moved back in with my dad and I sucked it up and I saved money for a house. I bought a house that was among my means. I didn't go above. So that's why I have a decent car. Like I have a really nice vehicle because my mortgage really isn't that expensive. I thought about that. My payment on my car and my house, like this is TMI, but I'm just sharing, that together is just as much as somebody would pay for rent in the next city over from me. And I did it that way because I learned to cut corners with costs and stuff, because I grew up on a budget with a family, and like there were times where we didn't have a lot of money, and my parents struggled until I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and they finally, like, you know, they worked hard enough to where, you know, we could have nice things, and my parents did the best they could with what they had. But to get to my point, I bought this house, and now I'm like, well, do I move? I have a good interest rate. I don't really own a lot. Like, do I pay it off and just like rent it out? Like, I'm just in this, like, it's a really weird period of my life, because there's this part of me that was like, yeah, I could pay off my house and stuff and I have a low interest rate, but like, am I thriving here? Am I genuinely happy here? And the answer is not really. I'm still doing some soul searching on this. I don't know what's next in my life. I quit my other job, so I quit corporate America, and then I, you know, pursued my dreams of becoming a full-time artist, and stuff just didn't really work out so great last summer, and I had to get a job come, you know, winter time, and then like, I worked a full-time job doing streaming. I did my business, and then I did YouTube. It just got to be way too much, and I was extremely stressed out, and my hair was falling out even more, and like I just wasn't in a good place mentally, and so I quit the job and I booked a trip to Bali, because before I quit corporate America, I wanted to go on this trip to Bali, and I had like a map sitting on my counter for like the longest time, and I'm like, oh, I really want to go, so I went, I did the thing, and I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about different areas of the world. And this isn't something that I do like all the time, and I don't need to explain. That's another thing that I'm learning at 31. I don't have to explain my actions to people. I don't need to justify, or I'm not responsible for showing people that I'm not rich, or I'm, you know, the way that I'm perceived, like showing people that I'm not that, because even the people I thought were the closest to me in my life think that I have all this money and I don't. It's because I work my ass off and I don't get shit handed to me. I never have in my life, and I've always worked really hard for the things that I wanted, and people are like, oh my god, I'm so jealous, like you're so talented. I practice. The reason why I have a lot of skills and trades in the workforce is because I didn't stay at a job for 10, 15 years. I moved around and I got judged for that highly. It was like, people were really critical of me. It was like, you probably shouldn't job hop. I've worked in factories, I've worked in supply chains, I've worked streaming, I've worked making boots I've worked in a warehouse, like I've worked all over the place. So I have all of this experience. You know, it's not like back in the day where you stayed 50 years at a company. Corporate America doesn't care about you like that. Some places might, but in my experience, they don't. You're replaceable, you're just a number. And so sometimes the 9 to 5 is for somebody, but I would rather embrace the uncertainty of the unknown of like what I'm doing in my direction in my life. Am I directionless at moments? Yeah, but I have a pretty clear idea of where I'm heading towards, but it's just kind of, it's like a year 30 is a very pivotal moment. You like end friendships, or like you pull apart from people, and it's just like this newness. You feel different, you think different, and I wish more people talked about this, because, you know, in your 20s you have your youth and whatever, and like at 30 30 is like the new 20, But the cool thing about your 30s is when I was 20, I didn't have money to do anything. I didn't have money to go out to eat. Now if I want to go out to eat, I'll go out to eat if I want to go out to eat. I don't go all the time. I'll probably go like maybe once a month if that. But I do it when I can afford to, or I want to spend time with the people that I love. But yeah, I guess the point that I'm getting to is just like getting older is weird. Especially when you've never been married and you don't have kids and you're in your healing era. It's just very strange. I know that there's a lot of people out there like me. I've had people say like, oh my God, like, you know, the older you get, you're not gonna find your person. Listen, I've seen people in their 70s and 80s find love. I'm not worried about it. I think one of the things that I've been the hardest on myself for is wanting to be more successful with my YouTube channel or on social media, and I just keep hitting all of these roadblocks, and they're learning lessons and they're pivotal moments, and I'd be lying if I said that they weren't absolutely necessary, because they are. But it's like, dang it, I just want something to work out. Like that was my plan. Like I want my career set in stone, and I want like financial, not abundance, but like stability. I want there to be an inflow, a certain amount of inflow, and then I can focus on the next thing, because I don't want so much of me pouring out into like a romantic relationship. I'm spilling my guts here, and then keep my eyes off of my purpose, because I've done that time and time again in relationships. But maybe you meet the right person and it's not that way. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about how getting older is really weird. And nobody talks about it, and nobody talks about 30, and I'm just shooting it straight to you, man. It's strange. It's very weird. I remember that I was absolutely turtified. I was so turtified of 30. I was going back and reading in my journal, and I was so melodramatic about it. And I was like, I'm 30, and blah, 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 blah. I had a hard time with 30, and the next day I was like, I'm still me, 2 days older. Just a number. I'm still the same person. I'm gonna swap out my memory card here because I only have a memory left. 1 minute left. Okay, there we go. That was like 3 memory cards later. They only had like 1 to 4 minutes left on them, so I'm just like, screw it, I'm just gonna grab a new one. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, growing up I was a misfit, which hasn't changed much, but I do have a story to tell about that, because I saw a post on TikTok the other day of this one girl that was 20. Now, when I was like, I wanna say from especially 4th grade, I've always been attracted to like dark things like skeletons and stuff like that. I've always just kind of been a little weirdo. I collected bugs. I was into taxidermy. Like I was just a very strange child. Not much has changed. The point I want to get to with this is I was kind of emo gothic. I was like emo gothic scene kid growing up from like 4th grade up until I hit about 20, until it was no longer socially acceptable, and I felt the weight of the world and I felt the pressure from society. And this is like shortly after I got into modeling. Like I took all my piercings out, I almost lasered off my tattoo, my hair was all the same color. It was actually like, this is my natural color here. It was like more so blonde. It was like all this color, but without the pinkish red in it. It was all like, I was basically my natural color with highlights, what it is now, just minus the orange tint to it. Stopped dyeing my hair because that's what the that's what the modeling industry was, like a beauty standard. And you had to have your, that's like, thank the Lord though. I do want to thank modeling for one thing. My freaking eyebrows grew back, which is a good thing because it did not look like a good situation. Back in the early 2000s, it was the era of plucking your eyebrows. And it's coming back, girl, don't do it. If you're watching this video, please just, God, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go to the dark side. Just please, just don't. Don't do it because you'll regret it. And most people I know, they weren't blessed like me, and they don't have any eyebrows anymore. And there's gonna come a trend again when the big eyebrow is back. So just embrace what you got. Just be yourself. And I know that the lip injections are big, and this is a controversy thing, and I'm just gonna say it. I'm not into it. Whatever people want to do with their body, that's their thing, but I'm not about the duck lips for myself. Just not. I'm just gonna be who I am. Anywho's, part of you probably clicked off this video because you're like, oh my god, she's such a bitch. No, I'm just being honest, it's my opinion. I don't care what you do with your body. But this girl posted, oh, that's what I was saying. And then I got into corporate America in like my early 20s as well, and I was like, I'm gonna be a business lady, and I'm going to college, and I'm going to school for business management, doing what society wanted me to do. Well, what am I gonna pick? Well, I'm really good at entrepreneurial stuff because ever since I'm a kid, I know how to sell shit. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what I'm gonna do. So I went to school for business management. Well, I took 3 years off, and anyway, to get to the point of what I'm trying to say is, there was a phase between 20 and 25 where I was just plain Jane. I changed my entire wardrobe. I dressed like everybody. And I was so unhappy for several different reasons, but that being one of them, because I did what everybody else wanted me to do. And when I think I was 24, 25 years old, that's when I ended up moving out to Jersey, pursuing my dreams of becoming a high fashion model. I was like, this is it, I'm gonna do it. And I was like, listen, you don't know if you don't try. That was also the time that I quit antidepressants cold turkey. Don't recommend that. Listen to your doctor. That was bad. I had really bad withdrawal symptoms. I've never had withdrawal symptoms in my life like that. I had what's called the brain shakes, and it felt like your brain was shaking inside of your head. It was scary shit. I was not okay. I was like getting the cold sweats. Like I was sick from it for probably a couple of weeks, I want to say, because I was on such a high dose of antidepressants. Well, when I moved out there, I no longer had medical insurance. I was like, well, it might as well be a good time to just quit my medication, because I was the person who, when I was on an antidepressant, my body would metabolize it, and then by the time I knew it, I was on the highest dose, and that's what we're gonna have. That's the cards we're dealt with. So that's what ended up happening. Plans didn't work out. That's when I came home, bought my house, whatever. And where the healing really started is when I lived alone, and I lived by myself for the first time in my entire life. And I remember looking at the walls of this house, and I hardly had anything. Obviously, I was a new homeowner, feeling very small in the world, thinking that maybe I bit off more than I could chew with this house. Who do I think I am? You know, it's kind of like that, what do you call it? Words, Tyler. Words. The words are coming to ya. I can't figure out what word that is. I got it. It's called imposter syndrome. I had imposter syndrome huge because people are like, how did you buy a house? I worked really hard and I saved my money like everybody else does. I think that's what other people do. I know that's what I did anyway. It was during the Rona. I ordered my couch. It took 6 to 8 months to get here. So I had lawn chairs in my living room because I did with what I had, and I had my bed, and that was about all I had. I didn't really have shit. I didn't care. It was in my house. But the moment that I laid foot in here, I made the most mistakes in my life by, we don't really want to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it. I dated idiots, most of them. I don't want to speak for all of you if you're watching this, because I know there's some of my exes on here that do watch my channel, and I'm not stupid. I know you're watching. I see you on my stories. I'm not an idiot. Should have appreciated what you had when it was there. Sorry, I just had to stick that one in deeper because it's just how I am sometimes. Sorry, I got a little passionate there for a second. My inner dark thoughts, the intrusive thoughts won. But I went through the ringer in relationships, and I dated the same kind of guy over and over, and then it got worse before it got better, and then I thought it was good, and then I thought I found my soulmate, and it wasn't, and it's okay. I accept life for what it is. It truly, genuinely always works out in your favor. Sorry you had a hair on you. If you were standing here in person, I would have got it off your shirt or wherever it was. And even if it was on your face, you're the person to have some in your teeth, I'm gonna tell you, because I care about you like that. That's why. But another thing that happened in this pivotal moment when my frontal lobe was being developed by 25, well, it already was things just kind of started to click, right? I started seeing more patterns. Where was I going wrong in relationships? Because obviously I'm not a saint and I have toxic tendencies as well. I'm not a perfect person. None of us are, and if you act like you are, you're a liar. You're lying. You're a liar. And mine was attachment. It was attachment, and when somebody didn't text me back, I was like, oh my god, they hate me, and I'm still guilty of this to a certain degree. But I've really grown up since then. I'm not as bad anymore. We're trying, we're working on it here, okay? It's a problem, but we're working on it. But I overly compensated and I overly gave myself to people, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the perfect girlfriend. I'm gonna cook for them. I'm gonna do all this shit for them. For what? Like, what are they gonna provide for me if I'm overcompensating? No matter, regardless of who it is, even if I met the right guy at the right moment, which I didn't, I would have probably effed it up because I had issues that I was sorting through, and there's still some issues that I'm sorting through. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because this is a part of the getting older thing. I know there's a lot of, especially women, I know that there's a lot of people, but they say like men don't really mature until they're like 25. It's because our brain's not done developing. Obviously, it's the frontal lobe, and men are a little bit more delayed than women. Some are more mature. Anyway, it's a controversial thing, and it's not that women are better than men or men are better than women. I think we're all equal. Our brains just work differently. The masculine men and then the divine feminine, like obviously have both parts to us, but like men and women are completely different people. We think about things different. We internalize things different. I don't know how many guys I've dated and I asked them like, what are you thinking about? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, huh. How do you think about nothing? Must be nice. Cause here I am. Oh my God. What is it? Cowardly the dog? He's just like always shaking and like anxiety. And that's like my brain. Like all these thoughts are coming through at Mach 12 and I'm just like trying to dodge them, the intrusive thoughts or the dark thoughts or depression or whatever, and it's getting better with age. But I'm just sitting here getting shafted by thoughts and like bam, bam, and I'm just getting the shit kicked out of me. And they sit there and they're like, I'm literally thinking about nothing. I'm like, how can you not think about anything? I've heard plenty of people say it. I don't think it's a lie. I believe them. That must be, if you're watching this and you're a man, it must be very nice. Must be very nice. I think about way too much sometimes, but it also makes me a problem solver. And it also benefits me because I can think outside of the box. If there's a problem, I solve it. Just like when I was on my trip and the ATM ate my card and then I ended up canceling the wrong card because it ate the card that I didn't think that it ate. I figured out a way to get home because I can think outside of the box. I think about these things. I think about everything. You know, it's like a Rubik's Cube of thoughts. 16 billion different ways to do it. And I will figure out a way to get myself out of a hole because I always get myself out and I always figure a way to pay for my bills and stuff like that. Where was I getting to? Oh yeah, the part about things just kind of starting to click. And like when you reach 25, it's kind of where your healing starts, but I cannot stress enough. I've never lived on my own in my entire life until I bought my house. I feel emotional talking about this a lot of times. I don't know if I'll get emotional now, obviously, because I'm, you know, whatever. But I did the most healing in this house. I was the most broken in this house, and I have grown the most in this house is because for the first time in my life, I wasn't seeking outside validation and I wasn't seeking approval of everybody else. And I finally got everything quiet enough to where I could listen to my own voice and I could listen to the voice from the divine. I could listen to God. I could let God lead me. And being in this house by myself, I dealt with the most loneliness I've ever had in my life. And I think that I would feel that over again than being in another relationship and feeling alone and feeling misunderstood, because that is one of the most painful things that I've ever gone through. So getting older is weird, but I like 30 a lot better than 20 because I stand up for myself. I know what I want for the most part. Like, obviously, things are going to change as you get older, and the things that you want or the things that you thought I want. I thought I was going to be 22, married with 4 kids. Now I'm like, my dog is a lot. How do you parents do it? I give you so much credit. And it was also the moment where I realized, wow, my parents dealt with a lot. Did they mess up? Yeah, they're human. They did the best they could with what they had, and I think that that's growth in itself, is realizing that your parents gave you everything that they could. And maybe it wasn't enough and it makes you overcompensate in areas of your life, or maybe you had a narcissistic asshole parent and you're still trying to rewire your brain. I've spent years trying to rewire my brain because I was just jumping everyone's beck and call and just listening to what everybody else wanted from me, and I was like, oh my God, they're gonna be mad at me. What's the worst that's gonna happen? What are they gonna do? Take your birthday away? You know, it's kind of like walking away from a job. Just like, it's been real. Done it once before. I can do it again. I'll make it work. But yeah, getting older is weird, but it's a beautiful thing because you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about the world around you. When you get out on your own, you kind of, a lot of times you're gonna fall on your face. You're gonna fall on your face. And I wanna say that one of the pivotal moments in my life was recently when I traveled internationally and went on a solo trip. And obviously you wanna make sure you do your research, go to a safe country, be smart. I was gonna go to Finn's Beach Club in Canggu, Bali. Canggu, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. I'll put it down below. But the reason why I didn't go out was because I was so anxious about somebody slipping something into my drink. I didn't have anybody there to save me. It was me versus the world. I didn't know anybody there. When you're a lightweight, when you don't drink a lot, like, I'm not as careful. And I'm like, I am not gonna put myself in that kind of a situation. I think that that's why I had a lot of anxiety about going out, is because I didn't have anybody there that I trusted to go with me. However, despite that, I met some of the most beautiful human beings in my entire life. It restored my faith in humanity. Not saying that it was jaded or anything but like that, but like, it really reminded me that there are strangers out there who are caring, that are compassionate, that do have a big heart. And there are people that will help you along the way, and there will be people in your life that give you what you give to other people, and a lot of times they're going to be strangers, and it's beautiful because you have these passings of people and like you cross paths, and then like maybe that's it for the rest of your life. Maybe you'll stay connected on social media. It's a beautiful thing about that. Maybe you'll never see them again, but they made an impact on your life. And I think as much as I feel directionless in life, and I wanted to talk about this, and as much as I've doubted my YouTube journey, and there's so many times, like there's gonna be a video posted before or after this. I haven't finished creating it. I only filmed the first section because I said what I had to. I thought about quitting, and I'm sure I'll talk about this too, and I haven't yet on that video, but it's like, I really pondered on it because I thought about it, and then I thought to myself, what would all of it be for? All of that effort, all of that time, and give up right before I get monetized? Like, how stupid, you know? Because I came to that conclusion, but I was all in my feelings, and I was doubting myself because it's part of the human journey. And as much as people want to stick a finger in your face and be like, well, you don't doubt yourself, you're worthy, or you just have low self-esteem, all of us fall short because we're human. And I think if a lot of people were honest about that, and they're like, hey, during this time I felt low in my journey too, and this is what happened, and kind of give you some hope and inspiration. And what I want to say here today is things always have a way of working themselves out. This is the most uncertainty I've ever felt in my life. I never thought I'd say that at 31. But despite all of the hard hurdles that, or the heartbreak that it comes with like taking a risk and then things not working out, I probably do that 1,000 times over. I wished I would have taken bigger risks in my 20s. And that's one of the things I've been pondering on lately is like, I took risks, but were they big enough? Maybe I need to take bigger risks. So who knows? To be continued. But I know that was a long spiel, and it was about me, but I want to share my experiences. Maybe there's somebody who's in their 20s that feels directionless in life. I'm 30 and I feel directionless. When my mom was 40, she's like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Obviously, she wanted to be an artist because she was an amazing sculptor, and she just had so much talent within herself. But if she could have only seen what everybody else saw, she didn't believe in herself enough. And so she quit at life. And maybe I'm talking to someone on the other side of the screen here today that just feels like there's no hope. And I feel emotional about this because I feel like there's going to be at least one. And I want you to know that life can be painful. Life can be very painful. I've faced a lot of darkness by myself. I've faced a lot of depression by myself. I've faced a lot of anxiety. But God has always been there. I don't care if you're religious. I don't care where you come from. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care. I just want you to know that people with the biggest purpose get attacked the hardest. People who have the most potential doubt themselves the most. I know this because I've listened to plenty of podcasts of billionaires. You don't have to be a billionaire to have success, but people who've really made it out on top and continue to excel, that little bit of insecurity isn't always a bad thing, because without that we wouldn't get better at stuff. Kind of like my videos. I had to really sit there and be honest with myself. Do they really suck? What do I need to change? What do I need to improve? Don't have the gear that I need, but how do I utilize what I have to make better videos? So I just want to tell you today that things always do end up getting better. Sometimes it takes time. I fought darkness straight for probably a decade. I've been depressed my whole life, and I'm a much better person coming out of all that hell. So I want to tell you today that there is hope. And I still feel directionless at times, and it's normal to feel that way. So if anybody makes you feel bad about it, don't listen to them, as hard as it is. It's cliche to say, but I think a lot of times when you reach those big moments of loneliness, you learn how to depend on yourself, and you learn to listen to yourself, and you learn to lean into that intuition more, and that's kind of where I'm at today. So if you're watching this, I believe in you. If you need some encouragement, please drop a comment down below. I'm here for you. I do care. I'm not always the greatest at responding to comments, but I try my best. And I don't know, this came straight from the heart, and I just want you to know that you're valued and your purpose matters, even if people don't see it in you. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, my homages, peace the F out. Bye.